Hey there, Algebra 1 students. I heard that some of you had some questions on the practice test, so I'm going to go over a few of the questions towards the end of the practice test to help you get a better handle on things. So here is question 16. You have two different lines. It says find the product of the binomials f of x and g of x and write your answer in standard form. And so you need to find the equation of each line. And then you need to take those binomials and you need to multiply them together. And so with this guy here, I can see that the y-intercept is 1 and the slope is 3. It's going up 3 over 1. So f of x is y equals 3x plus 1. And this guy, I can see it's going down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, right? And so the slope is -1, and its y-intercept is -3. And so this binomial is -x minus 3. And then it says to find the product. So I multiply them together, right? 3x plus 1 times -x minus 3. And you FOIL it out. So 3x times -x is -3x squared. 3x times -3 is -9x. 1 times -x is -x, and 1 times -3 is -3. You combine those like terms, the -9x and the -x, for a -10x in the middle there. So your final answer would be -3x squared minus 10x minus 3. And that one is tough. Okay, 17 says it gives you these polynomials. F of x is x squared plus 18x plus 7, and g of x is -3x squared plus 2x minus 9, and it says to identify the solutions of f of x equals g of x. So you need to take those two polynomials and set them equal to each other, right? So you have x squared plus 18x plus 7 equals -3x squared plus 2x minus 9. The first thing I want to do is set them equal to 0. So I moved everything to the left side of the equation. So I added 3x squared to both sides. I subtracted 2x from both sides of the equal sign. And I added 9 to both sides of the equal sign. So I end up with 4x squared plus 16x plus 16 equals 0. And then I need to factor it in order to find the solutions, right? So I factor out of 4. I have x squared plus 4x plus 4 equals 0. When I factor out those terms, I get an x plus 2 and an x plus 2. And so then I take that and I set it equal to 0, and I solve and I get x equals -2. So that was question 17. Let's see about question 18. It says identify the solutions of x cubed minus 10x squared plus 6x equals -2x cubed plus 8x squared minus 18x. You have to be careful with this, right? Just like the last problem, you need to set it equal to 0. So I moved everything to the left side of the equation. So I added 2x squared to both sides. I subtracted 8x squared from... So I added 2x cubed, and subtracted 8x squared and added 18x to both sides of the equal sign. So that gave me then 3x cubed minus 18x squared plus 24x equals 0. I factored out a 3x, and that leaves me with x squared minus 6x plus 8. And then you factor that further, right? What things multiply to 8 but add up to -6, that would be -4 and -2. So you have 3x on the outside, and then multiply that by the x minus 4 times x minus 2 is equal to 0. Then you take each chunk and set it equal to 0, right? And you solve for x. Or what values make each of those chunks equal to 0? Well, x equals 0 is one solution. But x equals 4 is another, and x equals 2 is the third solution. So there are 3 answers to number 18. Number 19 is the arch, right? You can model an arch at your school by using the equation. negative 0.9 times x plus 3 times x minus 3, where x and y are measured in feet. The x-axis represents the ground. Find the width of the arch at ground level. Okay, so the x plus 3 and the x minus 3 tell you where this parabola is crossing the x-axis, right? And so it's crossing at positive 3 and at negative 3. And so what's the distance between negative 3 and positive 3? It's 6. Okay, so the width of the arch at ground level is 6 feet. And question 20. You are riding a roller coaster when a shoe falls off your foot. May that never happen to you in real life. The function y equals 200 minus 16t squared represents the height y in feet of the shoe. T seconds after it falls from your foot, the shoe lands on top of a 31-foot tall building. After how many seconds does the shoe hit the building? Well, we're going to take that equation, the 200 minus 16t squared, and set it equal to 31, because it's a 31-foot tall building. Right? So then I subtracted 31 from both sides, and I got 169 minus 16t squared equals 0. I can factor that, right? 169 is a 13 squared. 16 is 4 squared. So I can factor this as a difference of squares and make it 13 plus 4t times 13 minus 4t and set it equal to 0, right? So I set it equal to 0, and I solve for t. I'm only interested in the answer that is positive. The negative answer doesn't make any sense, right? So I subtract 13 from both sides, and then I divide both sides by negative 4. And so t equals 13/4 seconds, or 3.25 seconds. I hope this helps you to understand some of the questions that were on your practice test, and I hope that you are all well. We'll see you next time.